Good afternoon, friends. My name's Justin. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I play guitar on songs in Nashville, and today I want to do two things. I want to give you some free tracks of my own for you to practice along to. We're going to work on a couple of rhythm things today. And then I also want to promote my buddy's sample pack. He's a drummer in town. His name's Evan Hutchings. He's got a second sample pack out that's available on his website. I'll have a link in the description, as well as a link where you can get my tracks that I'm going to play along to some of his sample pack stuff. So I'll give you these tracks to work on and play along with. And then also, I want to get Evan's perspective on what guitar players should focus on. If you're wanting to get a gig or start doing sessions or just playing with a band, like, what does a drummer like to hear from guitar players, you know? I've also asked Evan what he has found to be super practical. I've also asked Evan what he has found to be super helpful in his own practice routines. Like how do you practice effectively? What works for you? And then lastly, I've asked him, how can guitar players benefit from your sample pack? Well, I'm going to show you how I think guitar players can benefit from his sample pack right here. I've got one of his loops brought up. Let's try to record my screen and show you what we're working with here. So all right, here's my screen. If you look in my Finder window here, Essential Drums Volume 2 Bounces. These are all of Evan's samples that he has for sale. And it's super cheap, and I think it's super helpful for guitar players, and we'll get into that. So the first folder is 6/8 grooves. Like, here's one with a small snare at 160 BPM. That's really cool. Small snare crush. Very cool. How about with a delay? Kind of awesome. So then if you go back out to the main folder, he's got some loops that he made with his broadcaster kit. Busy hat groove. That's pretty cool. There it is with a bunch of room sounds. Busy snare skip groove. And I've got one pulled up in Pro Tools, as you can see here, that is a rim click groove with delay. That's really cool. Let's see, Ludwig's rim click groove dirty. He accidentally spelled it dritty. That's funny. That's kind of awesome. Let's do something with that. All right, so I've got it loaded up in Pro Tools. So with that loop, let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. very cool. So even though I'm a little out of tune, have you noticed when you put your guitar in one of those stands where it just kind of sits on the bottom of the stand and leans back? There's nothing, there's not like that little fork that's holding the neck, that you got to retune it when you pick it up, which I did not do. It always seems like the neck is leaning back a little bit and it's pulling on the strings, and then you move it and change the guitar's orientation relative to gravity, and it just goes out a little bit. Some strings go flat, others go sharp. All right, I want to show you one other thing. I've pulled up another sample pack, or sorry, another sample of Evan's, and then we're going to get to him answering some of these questions, which I think are super, super helpful for guitar players looking to break through a rut or get ahead or start working, you know. Really interesting stuff. So let's close this out. Let's open the 6/8 loop jam. And I already played along with this once, but maybe I'll play along to what I played along with. This is really cool. And actually no, because I'm gonna change something here. Let's do a new one. And I want to sort of give a mini lesson here on how to just lay in the pocket and lay back. So we'll stay in the key of E. Let's record enable my track, and here we go. That's what's hard. So what's hard? And I think what's really helpful about practicing along with a professional drummer who made these loops for us to use however we want, is that we can really use it to learn how to do the right sounding chicks. You know what I mean? So like the reverby smack that's on the downbeat, but that only sound actually classic and right in like a Cornell Dupree way if you're doing it as an upstroke. Upstroke on the downbeat at a slow tempo, that's a lot harder than you think, okay? And it's so easy to anticipate that beat and to be a little bit ahead. So, if you have the ability to loop something and play with it in a recording software situation, like Pro Tools, which I'm using, or Logic, or GarageBand, do it and record yourself practicing. And really try to nail those chicks, as we call them. Here, I'll stack another part. I've still got this going. Let's see if I can just do backbeat chicks from the top. And then we'll zoom in to the grid and see how on or off they are, okay? All right. All right, that's good there. Hold on one second. Okay, so let's zoom in here. Oh, man. So these green files are Evans loops. And then the ugly yellow-brown color, those are my guitar tracks. And my first rhythm track, you can see, is behind the beat. And then my first chick on the second track, man, it almost looks like it's going to sound late. Let's just listen to it real quick. It just feels good. It just feels good. So you can see here, we zoom in, and again, I'm just kind of right behind. Evan's stuff is like dead on. Oh, I'm a little ahead here. That's got to be a little hiccup. Let's listen to that. What did I do? Yeah, sometimes you got to listen. You can't just look at the waveform and expect everything to be behind the bar or behind the grid and to feel good. You can be way too far behind the grid, and that'll feel terrible. It feels lazy. It feels like the rest of the track is pulling you along and you're just refusing to go with them. But in the case of that, there's a bit of a... It's not always the first thing that you hear that is the emphasis of what you're playing. So, for example, even diamonds. You don't want to start the diamond after the downbeat. That's going to feel lazy. You want the crescendo of it, zing, wherever that zing is, you want that to sit right behind the beat. Okay? That makes sense to me. All right, so let's ask Evan some questions here. I asked him first just to introduce himself. And here we go. Let's find where it is.
Hey, what's up, Justin? Good to be here with you and your viewers here virtually. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Evan Hutchings. I'm a studio drummer here in Nashville. I also write and produce records. And yeah, I'm a full-time studio musician. Every once in a while, I'll get out and play live, mainly for award shows or house band gigs and things like that. But a couple of my favorite songs that I've been a part of are Luke Bryan, his song Waves. There's some just cool drum stuff in that song. I was able to let loose a little bit.
I'm on that track as well, and I remember that. Very cool rhythms, great playing from Evan, for sure.
Kelsey Ballerini's song called Walk in the Park. It's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. The chord progression and the melody are amazing. And also Nate Smith's Bulletproof. That was a 2-week #1 recently, and I just...
We went through that on this channel, actually. One of my videos where I went through the top 5 songs in country music. I know a lot of y'all don't love modern country or, you know, stuff that leans pop. I get that. Totally fine. I went through and kind of just showed how to play the intros of these songs. And at the time, Bulletproof was number 3 or 4 or something. But it went on to hang around for 2 weeks, which is rare in our modern attention spans.
Love Nate. He's a good dude, and we got to have some fun on that one. So check those out.
All right. Now, I asked Evan what advice he has for guitar players who are looking to either get a gig, a touring gig, or start playing with a band, or start doing session work. Like, what's sort of the professional mindset? What do drummers want to see from guitar players or other musicians in general? So this is super helpful, actually.
So I would say the top 3 pieces of advice I would give to guitar players wanting to get a gig is learn all kinds of music. Just dive into so many different styles of music, even if you feel like it may not be something that you're interested in, or you can't see yourself doing that kind of music in the future. That's okay. You'll probably get something out of that, and maybe you could take a piece of something you learned from diving into a different kind of music, and you can relate that to something else that you're into. So yeah, I would say listen to a bunch of different kinds of music and really dive into it. Like, just learn everything you can about it. And then I would also dissect parts as a guitar player. Like, figure out why certain parts and songs work and why they don't work. And then I would also say to be on time. Whenever you get a gig, show up on time, be prepared, have all your stuff ready to go. Nobody wants to be worried about whether or not you're going to perform at a high level or if you're going to mess up or whatever. You know, you'll want to be dependable. So the more you're dependable and you show up and you're a good hang and you can play, then you'd be surprised how quickly you start to work.
Awesome. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I think that he's right, that there really is a professionalism aspect to this. You would probably not be surprised at all that there are so many amazing musicians who shoot themselves in the foot by either not really learning the material that they get called for, or they're habitually late or ill-prepared, or maybe they party too much on the tour. I know that sounds like maybe counterintuitive. You know, you want somebody who's going to hang and party and do the touring rock and roll lifestyle, but actually most players in Nashville who have gigs, a lot of them are married. A lot of them are viewing this as a career, and they want to be as good as possible at all times. Staying out late and drinking way too much and partying with fans or whatever every night, being late to bus call when it's time to start heading to the next city, that's all going to work against you, like a lot. So there's definitely a professionalism aspect, not even just in Nashville, but showing up to a local gig. Like, maybe you think, oh, you know, this music kind of stinks, or it's not my favorite thing, or this singer isn't very good, or I'm only making, you know, a very small guarantee plus tips or whatever. So you accepted the gig. You need to treat it as if it's, I don't know. You need to treat it. You need to treat it as if it's the most important thing to you, because it's the most important thing probably to the people who hired you, especially if it's an independent artist. So that was a piece of advice I got from Rob McNally early on in town was, man, I can find so many things to complain about or focus negative attention on or whatever, but I can also just show up and play my butt off, have everything nailed. And even if people are like, I didn't love the music, or the artist was weird, or, you know, the drummer was kind of loose, that guitar player, man, he kicked butt. Like, there's wisdom in what Evan's saying here. And then just, he's sort of reiterating points that I've made about really getting inside of the part, not just learning it halfway, not just doing your version of it. But the point he made about learning music that you don't necessarily love, like, that's huge. The more tools you have in your toolbox, the more creativity you're going to be able to contribute. It's that simple. If all you do is learn blues and you only play blues progressions and solo over blues scales and comp the blues, like, you're going to be fairly limited in what you bring to the table. And maybe you're okay with that, you know, that's fine. But for somebody who's looking to get work, looking to play with a band or just grow as a musician, I think this is really good advice. So the next thing I asked him was, let's see, there was the 3 things he would say about guitar players. The next thing I asked him was what has helped you effectively practice?
One thing that's helped me a ton in my practicing is playing to a click track. And the reason is because I can slow it way down with something that I'm trying to learn. And I can slow it way down to where I can play it and not have to think about it. I want to play it and just internalize whatever thing I'm working on to where it feels natural and it's more a part of me. And then I can slowly speed up that tempo. And the metronome just helps to keep you in check. So you're always sure, okay, maybe I don't have it quite right at this tempo. Let me slow it down. So I would say practice. If you're practicing a cool lick, don't try to play it at the record tempo at first. You know, slow it way down and get it to where you don't even have to think about it. Play it in different keys, different positions, different parts of the neck. I'll do that with drums. You know, I'll learn a lick or whatever and then start that lick maybe on a different part of the beat, maybe on the and of one or on beat 2 and just, but I can only do that because I've slowed it way down and it's like feels so natural to me to play.
That's a great point. Like, if you're trying to learn something, say it's super simple and it's just, well, you get that lick down, but you could go 3, 4. Taking the same simple lick and starting it in 2 different places. It changes the entire character, right? And it helps you really get what that is under your fingers, get command of it if the emphatic beats happen at a different time in the lick. So that's super cool. And then the last question here, I asked Evan, how can guitar players take advantage of your sample pack?
Guitar players can benefit from the sample pack that I just put out by using it as a practice tool, really. I mean, you can throw a loop from one of the packs in there and just put it on repeat. And then again, like work on whatever lick or whatever phrasing or soloing idea you're working on. Just play that over a real drummer with feel and groove and get that feeling right. Get that on repeat and then maybe drag in another one at a different tempo. Play the same lick. So you can practice whatever you're working on with different tempos, different feels, and different grooves. And also, if you're a songwriter, if you're producing, some of these samples and loops can just make your songs sound better. It'll just take them to the next level. So you can find the sample pack at evanhutchings.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll have a link to his sample pack in the description. I'm also going to have a link to some of my rhythm tracks that I've played over his samples. I'll give you like a couple minutes worth of this thing that you can play along to and loop. And, you know, that one thing that I would love for you to get better at, because I feel like most guitar players need to get better at it, is hitting those chicks, the upstroke on the downbeat. Man, that's brutal. But Evan's 100% right. If you want to get better effectively and for it to feel musical and to be inspired to move forward, like, it's helpful to play to a real drummer, especially one that's been on like 20 number ones or whatever, you know. Loop these parts around and practice all your stuff to them. You'll find out that it sounds a lot more like songs, you know, like music, not just noodling. So anyway, check those links in my description, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one.